Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. We start today's video with a neighborhood Karen who decided that someone else's cat was community property. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. When the neighborhood Karen wants your cat. So I, 18-year-old female, have a very fluffy, very adorable cat named Mochi. He's basically my little buddy, and he's got one of those Instagram accounts where I post his funny antics, so a lot of people in my neighborhood know about him, including this one mom I'll call EM, who has a 6-year-old daughter super into cats. No biggie, right? One day, EM messages me on Instagram saying her daughter is absolutely obsessed with Mochi and asking if I could bring him to her daughter's birthday party the following weekend so the kids can play with him. I politely decline, explaining that Mochi doesn't do well in new environments and would likely hide or freak out around loud kids. EM's response, "Well, can you loan him to us for the day?" Yes, she literally wanted me to just hand over my cat as if it were a library book or something. She promised they'd take good care of him and even offered to pay me $20 for the inconvenience. I politely refuse again, saying that Mochi isn't up for loan, and I don't think it would be safe or comfortable for him. EM immediately switches tactics, calling me selfish and accusing me of gatekeeping joy from her daughter. She rants about how it's just one day and I owe it to the community because I flaunt Mochi's photos online. Now I'm getting irritated. I tell her that my cat isn't an accessory and he's definitely not something I owe to the neighborhood. I assume that's the end of it. Until the day of the party. I'm in my apartment when I hear a loud knock at my door. It's EM and her daughter, with a girl holding a sparkly cat carrier. EM smiles and says, "Oh, we came to pick up Mochi." She acts as if we'd agreed on this and just expected me to hand him over on demand. Completely stunned, I tell her, "I never agreed to this, and I'm not giving you my cat." EM's smile drops instantly, and she launches into this loud, dramatic rant about how I'm ruining her daughter's special day and that I shouldn't show off my cat if I don't want to share. Her daughter starts tearing up, and EM gives me this accusing look, like I've just broken her kid's heart on purpose. My neighbor down the hall actually poked her head out to see what was going on, which was enough for EM to grab her daughter and storm off, yelling, "I'll make sure everyone knows how selfish you are." Later, I found out from mutual friends that she spread a story around the neighborhood that I baited her daughter with Mochi only to withhold him out of spite. No one really believed her, but she still gives me the dirtiest looks anytime I pass her. Mochi, completely oblivious and unbothered, living his best life as usual. I'd post screenshots of the messages with the follow-up explanation, including your doorstep altercation that occurred at your home. Let the neighborhood know they have a Karen. Also, hugs to Mochi. And our second story. Petty, perfect, and hilarious. Mom versus perpetually late son. About 20 years ago, my brother was living by himself about an hour away from where my mom and I lived. I was much younger, still a kid, while he was already a late teen figuring out life on his own. We lived in a quiet rural area while he was in the nearest city. Anytime my mom needed to run errands in the city, she'd make a day of it, pick him up, spend some time together, and then get everything else done before heading home. There was just one problem: my brother's sense of time. He had this maddening habit of waiting until my mom arrived before even starting to get ready. She'd pull up outside his apartment building, text or call to let him know she was there, and then sit in the car waiting. Meanwhile, he'd just be getting out of bed. First, he'd shuffle to the bathroom, take a shower, find clothes, get dressed, maybe eat something, and eventually, 10, 20, even 30 minutes later, he'd finally emerge. For my mom, who only had a limited window to get things done before we had to be back home, that wasted time was infuriating. Each visit, she'd spend more time sitting in the car waiting for him than actually running errands. One day, she finally snapped. The night before her next trip to the city, she arranged to see him, and as usual, he said, "Okay, just text me when you're here." But this time, she took that literally, almost too literally. The next morning, she got ready, hopped in the car, and as soon as she backed out of the driveway, a full hour away from my brother's apartment, she pulled out her phone and texted him, "I'm here." Then she kept driving. On my brother's end, he saw the message, grumbled, rolled out of bed, and started his usual routine: shower, clothes, breakfast. Only this time, since he thought she was already outside waiting, he sped through it. Within 15 minutes, he was fully dressed and standing outside, scanning the street for her car. But she was nowhere to be found. Another 5 minutes passed, then 10. Finally confused, he called her. "Where are you parked?" he asked. "I've been outside waiting." Mom answered calmly, "Parked? I'm not parked anywhere. I'm still driving." "What? But you texted me you're here." "I am here," she replied sweetly. "You're there. I'll be there in about 15 minutes. Are you ready?" "Yes," he said, half annoyed, half exasperated. "I've been ready for 15 minutes and waiting outside for you." "Oh, good," Mom said cheerfully. "Then I won't have to wait this time. See you in a moment." Sure enough, when she pulled up a little while later, he was standing there, fully dressed and ready to go. For the first time in years, she was able to get on with her errands immediately instead of burning half an hour waiting on him. After that, something clicked. At least partially. My brother started making more of an effort to be dressed and ready by the time Mom arrived, though to this day, he's still perpetually and habitually late to just about anything that doesn't have a hard deadline. If it's a work meeting, a doctor's appointment, or something with a firm start time, he can make it. But casual family plans, soft start times, forget it. We've just learned to factor brother time into the schedule. The irony, when he got married, he was on time for the ceremony, but only because the groomsman made sure he was where he needed to be. Left to his own devices, I wouldn't have been surprised if he'd strolled in halfway through the vows. Even now, 20 years later, we still laugh about that "I'm here" text whenever he's running late. Mom followed his instructions perfectly. Text me when you're here, but not in the way he meant it. She got exactly what she wanted: a ready and waiting son when she arrived, and a bit of poetic payback for all the time she sat in the car drumming her fingers on the steering wheel. And honestly, it works so well that it's become a bit of a family legend. The day Mom weaponized punctuality is still one of my favorite examples of harmless, petty revenge. So many people have this kind of perpetual lateness problem. It's often due to being inconsiderate towards other people. But sometimes it's just weird brain stuff. Like how you struggle to get out of bed or start a homework assignment, even though all the logical signs point towards the fact that it would be in your best interest to do it. I said soda, chips, and a hot dog, not half the store. It was Easter Sunday, one of those deceptively calm days where you think nothing stressful could possibly happen. I was out running errands, feeling good, just enjoying the quiet. As I pulled into a convenience store to grab a drink, I noticed a man standing near the door. He caught my eye immediately and called out, asking if I could get him something to eat. Normally, I'm a little cautious about these situations. You never know if someone's genuine or if you're about to be scammed, but it was Easter, and I figured, why not? If there was ever a day to show a little kindness, it was today. So I stopped and asked him, would a soda, a bag of chips, and a hot dog work? He nodded quickly, almost too quickly. Yeah, that'd be great. I went inside, grabbed what I came for, and walked over to the counter, ready to pay for his food. That's when I realized this guy's idea of soda, chips, and a hot dog was very different than mine. Sitting on the counter in front of him wasn't one soda, but two, both already open and half empty. Next to them was a $16 bag of premium beef jerky, also open. There was a bag of Cheetos, a bag of regular chips, 2 hot dogs, and a slice of pizza. Everything except the pizza had already been open, like he'd been snacking the entire time I was shopping. I stood there for a second, staring at this little mountain of snacks. My nice Easter gesture had somehow turned into him trying to get me to buy a $30 convenience store feast. Yeah, no, I finally said. I turned to the cashier and said clearly, I'm paying for 1 soda, 1 bag of chips, and 1 hot dog. That's it. The cashier didn't even look surprised. In fact, she looked like this wasn't her first time dealing with him. She calmly rang up just the 3 items I'd agreed to buy. The guy immediately got defensive. You said you'd get me food. You can't just pick and choose. I stayed calm but firm. I said 1 soda, 1 bag of chips, 1 hot dog. Not all of this. That's when the cashier picked up the phone and called the police. Apparently this guy had been running the same scam on other well-meaning people, and plenty of them had actually paid for everything he grabbed. This time, she'd had enough. She told him straight, you can't just open food and expect strangers to pay for it. That's theft by deception. She looked more annoyed than worried, which told me he'd probably been through this before. He started muttering under his breath about how unfair it was while I finished paying for the 3 items. I slid them over to him, the food I actually promised to buy, and stepped out of the way. I didn't stick around to see the police show up, but I passed them on my way out, pulling into the lot as I got into my car. The guy was still arguing at the counter, waving his arms like he was the victim in all of this. Driving away, I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. I'd started the day thinking I'd do one nice thing, maybe brighten someone's holiday a little bit. Instead, I'd ended up in the middle of a mini drama that ended with the police being called. So yeah, happy frickin' Easter. Apparently no good deed really does go unpunished. Stuff like this is always happening. These beggars are getting way too entitled. I just read a post about a lady buying things for another woman, and in the checkout she opens and uses a chapstick, and when the cashier asked if she was going to pay for it, she just said, "Oh, I'm with her, she's got it," and pointed to the woman buying her food. And our last story. My neighbors tried to bully me into their HOA. I was the first one to buy a house on my little semi-rural cul-de-sac. Back then, it was just my house and a bunch of empty lots surrounded by woods and fields. Over the next couple years, one guy came along, bought up the other 11 lots, and then resold them, but only to his extended family. So now I'm the lone outsider on a street where everyone else is related, and ever since they moved in, they've been trying to buy me out. For 2 years straight, I've been getting friendly offers, notes in my mailbox, neighbors knocking on the door. "Hey, if you ever want to sell, we'd love to buy your place." I just smile, say no thanks, and go back to my business. Then December rolls around, and I get a letter that makes my blood boil. It said that effective January 1st, 2025, a homeowners association was being formed for our street. You are granted 3 months grace period, but starting in March, you'll be expected to pay $450 per month in HOA fees. $450 a month? And for what? According to the letter, the fees would go toward installing a gate at the end of the street, which would disqualify us from municipal garbage pickup, plus paying for a private garbage service, a snow removal contractor, and family-friendly events put on by the HOA. I nearly laughed. I'm not paying $450 a month to live on a road I already own property on. I don't want a gate. I don't want to deal with private snowplow schedules, and I definitely don't want to fund their block parties. A week later, I was outside raking leaves when one of the neighbors, Marta, walked over. "So," she said brightly, "when will you be signing the paperwork to join the family?" "The family?" I asked. "Our HOA," she said, as if I should be thrilled. "We'll need everyone's signatures to make this official." I gave her a polite smile. "I don't think I'll be signing anything." Her smile dropped. "Well, one way or another, you'll join. We can't have one house freeloading while the rest of us do all the work." That's when I knew this was about more than a gate. They wanted control, and they figured they could bully me into giving it to them. So I called my brother. He's a lawyer who specializes in real estate and property disputes. I explained the whole situation, including the letter, the fees, the threat about the gate, and Marta's little one way or another speech. He chuckled and said they can't force you to join, and threatening to cut off access to your own home, that's legally dicey at best. The next morning, he drafted a very sharp letter addressed to the proposed HOA board, even though they hadn't officially elected one yet. It stated in no uncertain terms that I was not legally obligated to join any HOA formed after I purchased my home. Any continued pressure or intimidation would be considered harassment and would be met with legal action. If they installed a gate that interfered with my access, I would file an injunction. Any attempt to deny me snow removal or road maintenance would constitute willful neglect and open them to liability if anything happened as a result. We sent it by certified mail, so they'd have to sign for it. Things got very quiet for a while. January 1st came and went. They forced their HOA elected board, of course it was Marta as president, and sent out cheery notices about the new gate project. I didn't respond. Then, in late February, Marta showed up at my door, again this time with 2 other relatives flanking her. "You need to sign," she said. "If you don't, you won't get a key to the gate." I just smiled and said, "Then I guess my lawyer will have to handle it." She huffed, called me selfish, and stormed off. A month later, the gate went up. Sure enough, they forgot to give me a key, so my brother sent one more letter, this one threatening legal action if they continued to deny access to my home. Within a week, a key was hand-delivered to my mailbox with a very curt note. But here's the best part. Not only did I get full access, but since the road is technically public until the county formally vacates it, they're still responsible for plowing the entire thing, including my driveway access. Now every time it snows, I watch their hired plow service come right to the end of my driveway and clear it for free. And I get to enjoy my peaceful house without paying a dime into their $450 a month family-friendly HOA fund. This is one of those stories where the lone outsider wins by refusing to roll over and ends up with the best deal on the street. You don't just live there rent-free, you live HOA drama-free. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.